Welcome to Podcast Done For You, the show where we make it as easy as possible for you to make the right choices to advance your podcasting career. So let's get started on the show. Don't fall into the trap of always thinking about your next podcast episode. Podcast Content Calendar 101. Plan, schedule, and stay consistent like a pro. This is the topic for today's episode of the Podcast Done For You show. It really is a big mistake that I see so many podcasters make. They have the big fancy thing that says new episode released, and then they move on to thinking about the next episode. And you know what? That is really leaving so much on the table. So this is why we're talking about the whole idea of a podcast content calendar, the 101 idea. Very simple rules here. Plan, schedule, and stay consistent. Okay, so first of all, when you undertake your plan for utilizing your content for the podcast, think beyond the week. That is the first mistake that you make is only thinking in terms of, right, my episode airs now, the next episode airs in a week's from now, and therefore I've only got this week to talk about it. Now, unless you are doing a podcast that is particularly timely, and I would suggest the majority of business podcasts are not, therefore, you need to think about how you can continue to promote your podcast in weeks and months to come. Look back on episodes in the past and draw attention to it. They might correlate with something that you've just been talking about in the most recent episode. We often do that here on this particular show. You'll find me saying, hey, I already checked that out in a previous episode. Now, that's okay to do that, but it's also within the show itself. But I'm also talking about your plan everywhere else, because where are you putting your content? In order to really put this plan together, firstly, think about all of the potential places you can use it. Now, the podcast, as we know, if you're recording video, you also get the audio. If you're recording the video and audio, you can use one or both in different places. You also get the transcript that you can use in different elements to provide written content. You can create graphics. All of those things are potential out of the podcast. But then you've got to look at the platforms. So there are all your social media platforms, and I'm going to throw YouTube in there as well. So don't forget YouTube as part of that process. But also there's your newsletters, and be they even a newsletter on a LinkedIn, as well as your typical newsletters to an email database. There's email sequencing that you might have in place as you want clients or potential clients to get to know you, or even as onboarding new clients, you might want to refer them to some of your content. And then, of course, as well as all of that, there are opportunities to go direct to people. So you might just individually use episodes and use sections of that content to really try and open a door with someone, or to, whether it's a potential client, a potential partner, who knows? It could be a supplier. All of those things are great opportunities to use your content. Also internally to educate your existing and also new team members who come on board who don't know your stories. This is a great way to go back and say to them, hey, you should listen to this episode, and this episode, because we give you a whole lot of information and insights that might be relevant to your job as you move forward. So part of the plan is to map all of that out in the first instance, and then think beyond the week and schedule it in. So look at things like, for example, we typically create at least 3 reels for every episode of the podcast that we do for clients. With that, I encourage them to say, look, by all means, use 2 in the first week if you like, but hold 1 back and use it in a few weeks' time. Also, don't be afraid to reuse some of the content. That is part of the plan. Just because you put it out today doesn't mean that everybody in your audience is going to see it. Hopefully your audience is growing fairly consistently. And if that's the case, they haven't been exposed to it. And you don't know how the algorithms work on social media, for example. So just because you put it up today doesn't mean that the same people are going to see it if you post it again in a few weeks or even a few months' time. So remember that. Always hold it back and schedule it in. That's one of the important things as well, because it's easy to get lost. So make sure you create a nice little spreadsheet of all of your podcast episodes with a simple idea of what the title is and this summary of what it's about. And then when you've published it, when you are publishing some content about it, and then schedule it in and say when you can talk about it again, and whether it might be relevant, as I said, to another topic that you're talking about down the track, or whether there's just an opportunity to renew interest in it. And it might crop up because you're doing a talk somewhere or because an opportunity presents itself. All of those things, it's an easy way to reference everything. So have that simple spreadsheet available and accessible, because it does wonders as you schedule things in. Now, you need to be consistent, right? That is really, really important. So make sure you have a general simple plan to promote whatever the latest episode is, and then to have a plan that is promoting previous episodes, and plug that in and make sure you stick to it. Have team help you. Be accountable. Make sure that you are sticking to what you're doing, and where possible, you can even schedule it in. A lot of the platforms and a lot of the various things that you might do have avenues in which you can simply schedule it in right now, so you don't have to worry about doing it in the future, and most of your calendar is already plugged in and ready to go. That is the simple way of being a professional in this particular space. It is just about consistently using the content and maximizing it to its greatest potential. You know, there's so much more that you can do with your content beyond posting it in this particular way. You can create courses, for example, using your content. You can create new blog articles using your content in different ways by taking the transcript or taking elements of it or creating a workbook alongside of it. There is so much opportunity with a podcast. But I want you just to remember this. Make the most of every single episode. Don't fall victim of just worrying about what's next. Get that 101 simple idea together. The calendar. The calendar matters. The plan, the schedule, staying consistent. That is what you need to do. And that is the lesson from this episode of Podcast Done For You, where we take all of that out of the equation for you, because we make podcasting very easy by co-hosting your show. So you just show up as an expert and let us sit back and do the rest. Now, whether we give you the reels to go ahead and post it yourself, or whether we help you out with someone who can do all of the planning and scheduling for you, come talk to us at Podcast Done For You, and we'd be happy to see how we might best assist you in being a thought leader that is growing their business consistently. Until next time, don't forget to subscribe, and we look forward to your company on the Podcast Done For You show.